The Browns, they're putrid. They're the worst team in the NFL.
The season, the 2024 season is over.
Lamar Jackson can't win the playoffs. He'll win a third MVP, though, so that's great.
Drew Sample is the most important piece of the Bengals offense next year.
Go Joe Burrow. He deserves to be MVP. I wish he was the Browns quarterback. Kind of mean that.
If you're looking for the most reactionary, silly, and unserious show on the internet, then you're home. Live from Hamilton, Ohio, it's Off the Bench by Chatterbox Sports on 1410 ESPN Radio.
All right, everybody. Happy Monday. Welcome in Off the Bench. Off and rolling. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Justin Kenner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Ruering, and Jacob Tissett. We don't start on time, but we at least started the show. That's all that matters. Guys, good morning. How are we? Everyone have a fun weekend. What we got lined up for today?
What we have lined up for today? Well, today's just
Joy?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Overwhelming positivity.
It's supposed to rain today. I don't know. Maybe I'll stay inside some more. I don't know. Who knows? Today's the world is our oyster. Isn't that the saying? So
Do you like oysters?
No.
I don't really either.
Have you ever had an oyster?
No.
Okay, fair enough.
I guess that's a good follow-up.
No, and I don't really have any interest in it. But to each their own. I listen. I look outside today. It looks to be a fine day, and who knows? Maybe I'll go golfing later. The world is full of possibilities.
That's right.
You just got to take advantage of them. That's how I look at life. That's how I looked at this past
You're
weekend.
an artist,
sports.
and the world is your canvas. Is
That's
that what
right.
you're saying? All right, fair enough. Fair enough. I did see. So, Jake, I see the Pacer hat rocking.
That's right.
So we don't talk a lot of NBA, but
No.
when we do, there's a push for us to talk Cavs.
There is,
So
and I would
then,
love to talk Cavs.
When we're about to talk Cavs, you have the enemy hat on.
I do.
And
Well,
there's one thing this
the
show
enemy.
hates. There's one thing this show hates is, going against the team of the show. Now,
That's
to be
right.
fair, I'm assuming the Cavs are the team of the show.
Well, I root for the local basketball team. So
And-
when you look at the map of the NBA teams, I pick the team that's closest to the city I live in, and I root for them.
That's fair enough. And maybe I just assumed because it was an Ohio team that the Cavs were like the team of the show.
I think they are.
You think they
I
are?
think the Cavs are the predominant team in Cincinnati. I also don't
I'd
think the majority of the city cares.
I'd have to go and look at this.
Just because we get them on TV,
Yeah.
is why I would lean that way. But I've always been a Pacers fan. I grew up going to Pacers
feel like-
games when Paul George and them were playing, and have went to basically a game or two every year since. And last night was a lot of fun.
So you picked the right game to go to. You didn't go to
Yeah.
game 3. You went to
Right.
game 4.
Yeah. Shout out our schedule on Friday because we were planning on going to the Friday night game instead of the Sunday game, and then we had to work Friday.
Yeah.
And so we switched it to Sunday. Thank God.
Yeah, that was a good switch.
Yeah.
Jacob texted me last night. There were some rowdy Cavs fans in the crowd. I looked at the score. I wasn't watching the game. Shout out to me. I wasn't watching the game, and I checked it at probably about 8 minutes left in the third quarter, and they were up by 50. And I'm like, how are the fans treating you now? He's like, they're silent. Nobody said a word. No Cavs fans are talking anymore. Yeah, it's tough. Cleveland and Cincinnati much aligned in that both cities are cursed with their sports teams.
I just don't get how you're a professional team, basketball team at that, and lose by 50.
Yeah.
How are you the 1 seed? Especially because you're the 1 seed.
Well,
I know they're a little banged
they
up.
lost Donovan Mitchell. I mean, Donovan Mitchell did get hurt.
Did Donovan Mitchell get hurt, or were they down 40 at half?
Well, I think there was a little bit of both, but he was hurt.
We'll see, because they MRIs today, so we'll see.
He was hurt. There was no doubt about it.
Casey, how are we? Happy Monday.
Yeah, happy Monday. Happy Monday. Mother's Day weekend was great. I had a Mother's Day party, and we watched FC. Evander, amazing. Got us the win, 2-1 against Austin.
Let's go.
Against a former player of FC, Brandon Vasquez. So my team won. Can't say that for the rest of my teams. They stink, but hey.
The Reds are good, man. I think the Reds are one good stretch away from really proving us all wrong.
Casey, why don't you pop up and show us those shorts?
You want to see my shorts?
What's going on?
Casey complained about the length of his shorts earlier today, and I like them. I think they're nice shorts.
I don't know if I'm going to be able to get this.
I don't know.
You gotta get it out of that box.
You're going the wrong way.
You're going the wrong.
You're going the wrong way.
monitors. Gotta get to the
You
monitors.
gotta just walk forward, Casey. This is awesome radio.
This is great radio. The radio.
This is what intrigues you to go watch the show,
Right,
though.
that's right. But
No, it just
Casey's wonderful wife got him 5-inch shorts, and he's complaining about the length. But I am a 5-inch guy. I'm a shorter shorts guy. They aren't called longs.
Yeah,
So I think
they are called
that
shorts.
fits the mold a little bit better.
I also couldn't forget about John Cena and Dayton. Someone threw a bottle at my goat. I couldn't believe it. And then I thought Who went to the match in Dayton? Oh, Kenner went to the match in Dayton.
I did not.
you?
I ultimately did not go.
You did not go.
I found I have this new obsession now with buying tickets for cheap and
Infinite
then
money glitch.
making money off those tickets later. So yes, and plus the wife was making fun of me for wanting to go to wrestling. So I sold the tickets and we hung out at the house and had a fire and had some friends over, and that's what we ultimately ended up doing at the end of the day. But yeah, no live wrestling for me over the weekend.
The chat is worried about your lack of sunscreen over the weekend.
I got pretty fried.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, we can see it. But
Yeah.
So yeah.
a little SPF. You never heard of the little SPF?
No, I don't. I mean, if I'm going to sit out in the sun, I want to get that sun though.
Yeah.
So
That's
I don't
a-
mind taking on a burn in May and then just kind of.
I 100% agree. I'm with him all the way.
Yeah.
First day of a vacation, I'm always just burn me as much as possible.
Yeah.
I'll peel on day 2 and be tan on day 3.
That's right. That's how it works. And my beautiful Serbian skin, it doesn't really burn a whole lot. It'll get a little bit of red, but I usually don't have to worry about sunscreen too much. Whether or not that's right medically, probably not. But I do not really get burned. I have a little bit of burn on my neck from Friday, but that's about it.
But yeah, got the pool open over the weekend, and anytime you can jump in the pool in May, that's a win.
Yeah.
But it was a little cold, but not that cold apparently because I got fried. But either way, but no, Casey, that was not me. I did not chuck the bottle. At John Cena.
I saw the press conference
Yeah.
guy.
where he flipped the one guy on the table. Mm-hmm. Can I ask you something?
R-Truth, that's his name.
Can I ask you guys something?
Yeah.
Was that entertaining? Because I watched it and that was the most corny
Certainly.
thing I've ever seen.
That was pretty entertaining.
I mean, that was the most corny thing I've ever watched. In my
Come here, you want me to
entire
put you
life.
through this table? Come here.
No, well, I don't think you could physically.
You
but
want this?
no, not me. I watched it and I'm like, what do we? I don't understand what we're doing here. I didn't get it. I don't think he's a very good villain.
No, I don't think he likes being the villain.
Yeah, I don't
From the
think
clips that I've seen.
Yeah, like he's been the nice guy for so long. I don't think this villain thing works for him.
How do you know?
What do you mean? How do I know?
How do you know?
How do I know what?
Well, when Elliot was
I
10
watched-
and
I thought
watched
you don't
wrestling,
watch-
he was the good guy.
when I watch the clips, I don't think he's very good at it
Why do you go and watch the clips?
because they show up on my timeline. I imagine because Casey likes them
That's true. That's true.
and they show up.
Fair enough, but I did not go see the goat, or Casey's goat, if you will. But there was no yeeting going on in Dayton. I didn't
Good.
even get a chance to see Pat McAfee. I will give John Cena did this thing where he would go in a bunch of random local businesses in Dayton, so you just randomly see people posting. But he was just going around and just
Was
taking
he
pictures.
being the
with
villain there?
everyone. He smiled.
Oh.
Do villains smile? I mean,
Is he normal John Cena outside of the events?
I don't know.
Like, is he still doing Make-A-Wish?
This
or
is
he
where
like,
this is.
does
This
he
is
hate those kids.
Yeah, this
now?
is. This is where I don't get it. Does he hate those kids? This is where I don't get the
F them kids,
storyline.
you know?
So
Like-
I mean, I don't know.
Well,
To each their own.
His whole speech at Dayton before he got like faked RKO'd and then he got RKO'd by Randy Orton with
As
his
opposed to the
stunt
real
double.
RKO.
Casey, they were both fake.
I mean, regardless, he was saying that your childhood dreams were going to die. So maybe you're onto something. Maybe he does hate them kids now.
Wow.
Still my goat though.
Imagine like being on your last leg, having
Hold on,
that
let me-
booked, and
Yeah.
Triple H makes John Cena heel, and you lose your wish.
Yeah, let me put that in my headline. real
Like
quick.
that's, I mean, that'd be brutal.
John
I think it's
Cena
horrible.
hates
You got
kids.
this new administration that took over this year that is trying to do everything that they can to decrease crime in this country. And
What
then
are you
here's
talking
John
about?
Cena, who is
What are we
just
doing here?
ruining lives and going to make crime increase. These kids are just going to grow up just being scarred from this. 2 steps forward, 3 steps back.
There you go, Bill Cunningham. I'm glad you got that one. I'm glad you got that one out. I'm glad you got that one out.
All right, off the bench. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. Let's step away.
Let's talk Reds.
We'll talk. Yeah, let's get everyone real depressed.
I'm excited about talking about the Reds today.
Yeah, so we're going to get to headlines with Elliot coming up. We'll dive into what the hell that was over the weekend. Really, what the hell has been with the Reds over the last week,
Yeah.
2 weeks. So we'll get into that. The Cincinnati Bengals, plenty to talk about that. The schedule release comes out this week. Do you guys care about the schedule release? I love the schedule release. I don't know why I get excited.
It's one of my favorite things.
I care about it more when I didn't know all the opponents already, but I understand that you know pretty much any of them because it's all calculated.
It's like the not who you play, it's when you play them. And
That's right.
I think when you're a team like Cincinnati, I think we're all going to be paying attention to those first 4 games to see what they have going against them or for them, if you will, when the schedule release comes out later on this week. But we'll step away for a few moments. Headlines when we come back. Off the Bench continues next.
This is your captain speaking here. I just want you all to hit that like button, share the show with a friend. That would really help us out. Thank you. I just wanted to whisper sweet nothings into their ears. So, yeah.
There you go. You only get that here, Chatterbox, on YouTube. All right.
Oh,
let's,
your mic was off.
No mic.
So did
unfortunate.
they even hear that this is your captain speaking earlier?
They heard.
I don't think they did.
They heard me. I'm pretty sure.
I mean, there's no.
I have no clue.
Oh, what a time.
We'll find out later.
Welcome in.
All right.
What a week.
Welcome in.
Yes. Happy Monday. Let's lob it up.
Birthday week.
Who's
Oh, it was Kinner that was muted, not Casey.
Oh,
so they were
I
happy.
see.
It
They
was
were happy.
Mike in a joyous way.
producer of the year over
not
here?
a sad
like
way.
they loved it. They loved that, and now morale is dropping. Whose birthday?
Mine. The May 13th tomorrow.
Oh, very nice.
513.
We'll have to get. We'll figure something out. We'll celebrate your birthday
Thank
tomorrow.
you.
Don't know how we're gonna do it. Maybe shots on the air.
Yeah.
Yeah. Elliot loves to drink.
I love alcohol.
I'll take your shot. Can I have your shot, please? Can I have your shot?
Yeah.
We can do 2 Beer Tuesday.
Yeah, 2 beer Tuesday. Yeah. Maybe I'll go to the White Sox
2 beer
game tomorrow.
Tuesday,
Maybe
man.
they can beat them. So we'll see.
All right, Elliot, let's go. Pre-birthday celebration by doing what you do best, which is headlines, ladies and gentlemen. Headlines
what I
with
do
Elliot
best.
Rearing.
Score updates, breaking news, local and national headlines. Whatever's going on in the world of sports, Elliot has you covered. Off the Bench brings you Elliot's headlines.
Shout out to my guy Ron. Do I give free shout outs on the show? Sometimes, yeah. So shout out to Ron. I know he watches this show daily. We were talking about the Reds this weekend and how frustrating it all was, but he had a take that I agreed with. So I wanted to give a quick shout out to Ron before I start this headlines. Now that I'm at the headlines, we'll talk about the Reds because they have one series win since April 21st.
Whoopee!
So this was the stretch again that, if you remember, Jacob and I said if they could be like 5 games above 500 during this stretch against really bad teams,
And we thought that was like,
moderate.
yeah, we
weren't
were
asking
giving
a
them
lot.
a little leeway there, being 5 games above 500.
Have not won a series, or only won one series since April 21st. The only series they've won was against the 30 games below 500 Colorado Rockies, who just fired their manager.
21-0 over the weekend they lost.
Yikes. They lost to the Astros, the Reds being they lost to the Astros in shutout fashion again. They have been shut out 3 times in their last 7, twice against the Astros. But hey, they scored a lot of runs on Saturday, so maybe it all evens out. That's how this team operates. 6-0 the final score. Chase Petty, 3 innings, 6 hits, 6 walks, 4 earned runs. The Reds had 2 hits offensively. Thank you very much for your service. Up next, White Sox tomorrow. It's Andrew Abbott versus Jonathan Cannon. Cannon coming in with a little bit of above a 4 ERA. Not that it matters when you play the Cincinnati Reds. Major League Baseball around the league. The Phillies, they shut out the Guardians 3-0 on the back of Kyle Schwarber last night, homered twice. The Blue Jays, they blow out the Mariners 9-1. The Dodgers crush the Diamondbacks 8-1. Orioles, they finally get some wins, starting to stack them up. Win over the Angels 7-3. The Yankees, they blow out the Athletics 12-2. Aaron Judge, 4 more hits to get his average back above 400. The Rockies, they did get a win yesterday, 9-3. Immediately after that win, they fired their manager, Bud Black.
Did you see the run line for that game yesterday?
What was it?
3.5.
Are you serious? Oh, my God.
Padres were minus 3.5.
Oh, my God.
I've never seen that before in baseball.
That can't be right. 3.5?
I saw it.
What was their money line? Minus 600?
Yeah, it was like 420 or something like that.
Yeah, so maybe that'll help the sting, as Jacob said, of their 21-0 loss on Saturday.
Speaking of that 21-0 loss,
Yeah.
if the Rockies were awarded a run every time they put the ball in play,
Yeah.
They would have walked off the
Wow.
Padres on the last out of the game with a pop-up.
Wow.
22-21.
I told Jacob I'm going to start
That's the-
measuring the
that's the
Reds'
most incredible
success based
stat.
on how many times they don't strike out.
I think the Reds would still be really bad.
No, they'd be horrible. They'd be horrible. Continuing on, you have the Tigers losing to the Rangers 6-1. At least it was a good day for the division, helped the Reds out. The Brewers, Cardinals, Pirates all winning yesterday. The Cubs did fall to the Mets, but the Cubs are going to win this division by 15 games, so it doesn't matter really there.
That's what I told Casey this morning. It was like, I feel like the false hope we were given last year by everyone else in the National League also
Yeah.
being terrible, we're going to lose that pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I mean, there's just no – we'll get into it. We'll get into it. NBA, the Pacers, shout out to Jacob.
Woo!
They crushed the Cavaliers to take a 3-1 series lead, the most dangerous lead in sports.
It is, but LeBron is not walking through that door.
You're right. 129-109, the final score. Donovan Mitchell did get injured in the game, did
Yeah.
not come back.
Well.
Siakam, 21. Obi Toppin and Miles Turner each scored 20 points for the Pacers.
Obi
Good for them.
Toppin did the drill
no
with Dr.
stopping.
J. Went up for a layup, went underneath, and
Really?
made it again. Yeah, on the exact anniversary of the Dr. J play. And I just think it's funny that we have guys in today's game like Obi Toppin doing that. And when Julius Erving did it, it was groundbreaking.
Yeah, well.
Maybe these eras are
So you're saying
a little
okay.
different in terms of
see.
athleticism and skill.
I see what you're trying
don't
to do.
know,
You're
but,
trying to slander the garbage men and the mailmen that played back
That's
in the
right.
80s and 90s.
When
That's
role
right.
players are doing what superstar players
That's right.
did back in the
That's
day.
right. Not
and
just
it's-
superstars. I mean, Julius Erving.
Julius Erving.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's no big deal when a role player does it
No,
today
no,
because everyone does it because that's, the talent line has moved up.
Speaking of role players, Max Strus and DeAndre Hunter are the worst, and I hate them.
Oh, why?
DeAndre Hunter just shoved Benedict Mathurin, middle of the court.
Got ejected.
Did he get punched? Maybe.
Yeah.
But I don't care.
Yeah, listen, you're representing your team. I respect that.
Max Strus, though I do hate him, he did a move that I respect greatly. He was arguing with the ref, and the ref talked back to him, and he looked at the ref and gave him just a real firm thumbs up.
Yeah, I
And
like
it was
that.
I respect that. And then he immediately got teed up like 2 plays later. But it was the thumbs
That's-
up I respect.
That's a good move. Also, notable Cavalier Tristan Thompson checked into the game late yesterday. I texted
And he
Jacob.
led the team in rebounds.
Reality,
6 boards in
reality
10
TV
minutes.
star.
I texted Jacob. I'm like, that's a mistake, right?
I went to the
It
game
was
with my
not.
mother for Mother's Day, and
Yeah.
when Tristan Thompson checked in, she pointed out that she had seen him on the show.
Yeah.
So
What show?
He's very well known. Keeping Up with the Kardashians.
Yes, I was gonna
He's
say.
very well known.
Reality TV star Tristan Thompson.
I think, funny enough, he might be towards the top of most well-known NBA players.
Yeah, probably. I mean, he got to the league in 2011.
Jeez.
And he's known
2011.
for just continuously to cheat on the Kardashian woman, which one it is.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know
I mean,
But,
that's just it.
it's what he does.
Yeah, that's sad. Heading over to the National Hockey League, the Panthers, they shut out the Maple Leafs 2-0. That series is tied up at 2. The Stars, they now lead the series over the Jets 2-1 with a 5-2 win last night. FCC, Casey mentioned it, but the Orange and Blue, they got a big win, 2-1 over Austin FC. I was unaware Austin had a soccer club, but they lose to FCC 2-1. Gerardo Valenzuela, maybe? He was the hero in the 76th minute for the Orange and Blue, so another big win there. I think they're 8-3-1. Pretty good for FC Cincinnati. We got one team in the city that wins. I will be in their stadium on Friday night to watch them.
To watch them.
Yeah.
Well, if it's on.
Yeah, I mean, I assume it'll be on behind Zach Brown. Zach Brown's going to be the main act there, but I think if it's on the TV behind them, I would be watching them in their home stadium.
Now, if they don't have it on in their own stadium, that's not
that's
our
not our
fault.
fault. That's not our fault. That's not our fault. It'll be Brantley Gilbert and Zach Brown. So we'll see you guys there. Outside of that, those are your headlines.
Very nice. Yeah, I did pull that out. Rockies lineup. Yeah, Rockies were plus 3.5, and they took care of business.
They're a bad team.
That is a big red line.
They're an alarmingly bad team.
I've always said it's a tough place to play.
You
in
have said
Colorado,
that, and
so
it's really tough for the Rockies.
the
to play
Rockies.
there.
The Rockies can't figure out how to win anywhere. So.
No.
But do they know heading into the season that they're going to be that bad? You know what I mean? I don't pay
I don't
attention
think
to
anybody
Rockies
expects
baseball.
to be. I don't think anybody expects to be the worst team ever. Like the White Sox last year, as bad. They won 41 games, I think, last year. They started out the season the same mark with the Rockies right now.
No.
With 4 more wins.
Yeah, it was 5 more wins.
5 more wins.
They
So
were
it's-
11-28. The Rockies are 6-33 through 39.
It's a disaster. I don't. Those poor Rocky fans out there. I don't know what you do now because you sign Chris Bryant. You think everything's going to be all right. He doesn't play baseball games. They're not allowed to get any pitchers there. No pitchers ever sign in Colorado. No pitcher ever will sign in Colorado. And then the rest of the lineup, it's like half of former Reds. And it's Nick Martini and Kyle Farmer. Kyle Farmer, I think, hits cleanup for him. And it's an honest train wreck. I don't think anybody expects to be 30 games below 500. You expect to be bad. They were always going to be bad in that division. But they were never going to be. I mean, this is outrageous.
2024 White Sox minus 85 run differential. 2025 Rockies minus 134. Rockies team ERA 5.89. The 2024 White Sox 4.75. Rockies team WAR minus 1.5. White Sox minus 0.8. That's all through 39 games.
And that's what's wild is the Rockies could be slightly better next season. And the goal is to improve to what the White Sox were a year ago. Yeah. And it will save jobs. It'll make guys money.
Is this 3 years in a row we've had a different
bad.
Franchise be historically bad?
Who was 2 years ago?
The 2023 A's were really bad.
Yeah.
I mean, they weren't last year bad, but they were really bad.
It's been 3 straight seasons with a team like trying to set the record for least amount of wins. White Sox did it last year. I wouldn't bet against the Colorado Rockies. I mean, I think they got a shot at winning 35 games.
How long until you can bet that, do you think? The record?
Give it another 3 weeks.
Week?
Yeah, I think you got to wait a little bit. But we'll see.
The A's, by the way, are a 500 team this year.
Yeah.
Which is wild. When I was looking at the standings the other day, and I'm like, wait, the A's are good? Well, they're 21-20. They're better than the Reds. I mean, what are we doing here? But 21-20, and where are they playing again?
Sacramento. Real small state.
It's the city that never sleeps.
But 21-20. Of all the sports, which sport is it the toughest to be a fan of a bad team? Like
definitely not baseball, because you can just go and nice.
I
feel like we're struggling worse as Reds fans than Rockies fans are, because if the Reds would just hurry up and tell us who they are, obviously the show, it's kind of our job, but like if the Reds would just hurry up and tell us who they are, the fan in me could just give up on the season.
I would say basketball probably.
Yeah.
If basketball becomes unwatchable, if you're college or NBA, I think both apply, but both of them, it's like if you have a bad team, you're not tuning in.
Yeah, I mean the Bengals could go 0-17. I'd still watch every Sunday.
Because it's football.
And and even the Reds, I think they lost 100 games. I pushed 20 games that season in terms of going. So I think it's definitely basketball.
Like the NFL, it's tough, but like if you at least draft well and there's hope of at least for instance, not the fan of this team anymore, but if you are a Browns fan, it's fun to follow this team right now. There's new exciting players coming up that you hope hit if you are a Browns fan. So it's fun and exciting, if you will. You could think back to when the Bengals won 2 games, but you get Joe Burrow. You don't know what to expect that rookie season of Joe Burrow, but my gosh, that was fun as hell finding out that, oh my God, we do have a franchise quarterback in Joe Burrow. Just what you saw early on. But yeah, I just ask as baseball. We're miserable. The Reds have made us miserable. That's why I was asking
I think it's far worse to be where the Reds are than where the Rockies are, though. I think it's worse to be as a fan, like thinking you have a hope.
That's why
like you have hope. Like I even they're 20-22 right now. I still think there's a glimmer of hope, even though I know that's not the case. The Rockies have no hope, and they can just go enjoy their weekend. I don't get that luxury.
The players don't seem to be having a great time.
Correct.
But I do think the fans are probably having a better time.
I would say.
And that was going to be my next question. If you are, let's put our athlete hats on. If you are a professional athlete, which sport is it the toughest to be on a bad team? Like baseball would have to be there.
Baseball
would probably be
baseball, right. But it's also so easy to control individual performance in baseball that you can kind of will yourself to, like, even if you're on a bad team and you are playing well, Rockies don't have any of those players.
Yeah.
But if you are playing well, you can hang your hat on, I can get out of here in free agency and sign somewhere and make a lot of money, and I am still a good baseball player. I feel like that answer has to be something that's more team-oriented in terms of success.
Yeah, I still think it's probably just because it's longer.
Baseball's mental, I think, but football
it has to be grueling.
It's one thing, like, when you get into the heart of the season in football and you're tired mentally and physically and you're just getting your ass kicked.
Yeah.
But at least you're winning and there's something that you're playing for. I can't imagine being a 2-3 win team heading into the final month of an NFL season and still having to give it your all for the final month.
Yeah.
Same thing in college football. Like, how do those,
Oh, yeah, college football. I mean, imagine, like, Alabama, Ohio State, Georgia, something like that. They lose 2 games off the rip.
Yeah. Being
Being a player on, like, that team, having to play 8 weeks, 9 weeks of football when you're eliminated, when you were supposed to be a national championship contender, I mean, that's
brutal.
a nightmare.
Yeah.
You got to go to class and stuff. Ugh. Yeah, that would be a nightmare.
You're trying to keep guys from entering the portal mid-season.
Right.
If that's the case. But All right, let's step away for a few. We'll pick up with the Reds. What the hell is going on? I mean, I think you bring up a good point. Like, we're poking fun at the Rockies, and I'm like, well, see, we can, it could always be worse. We could be fans of the Rockies, right? They've won 7 games. It's mid-May. They've won 7 games. 5 of those 7 games have been at home. I mean, they have 2 wins on the road. The Rockies are bad. They are not good. But I guarantee you cannot find a group of Rockies fans that feel worse about themselves than us Reds fans over here. I think it's more tough to be a Reds fan than it is a Rockies fan. It got worse over the weekend, dropping 2 of 3 against the Houston Astros, even though the Reds got healthier over the weekend. You got guys back over the weekend, and it went from bad to worse somehow. They dropped 2 of 3 against the Astros. We'll recap that. The Reds are off today. Reds talk next. All right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kittner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Ruring, and Jacob Tissett with you here. We were just kind of poking fun during the break at the Reds. Like, if you go and look at some of where they rank offensively in a lot of the major offensive statistical categories out there, if we would have looked at some of these back in January, February, knowing that the Reds didn't do a whole ton in the offseason as far as adding any sexy names, like we were expecting more. We've talked about how it was an underwhelming offseason. But we were looking at the numbers of where the Reds rank offensively in a lot of these major offensive statistical categories. Some of these, if you would have told us that this is where the Reds would have been ranked back in January, knowing that the pitching was going to be pretty good, you would have thought that the Reds would have a comfortable lead in the Central at this point. Yeah. Statistically, offensively, this team is not bad. But then you watch the games. I mean, that's why I disagreed with Sam LeCure, who I love the fact that he comes on, but he said that those who are critical of the team, they must not be watching. I think it's the opposite. I think if you just look at the stats and just hang your hat on that, you should feel pretty good about it. I think the reason we all feel bad about it is because we do watch the games. We do watch this team, and that was a painful watch over the weekend. The Braves, we knew was going to be a tough series, but then you butt that right up against the Astros, who are not the Astros of years past, but they're still very good. The Reds did not look very good over the weekend, despite having double-digit runs. That's what they do. They put up big runs in one game, and they kind of inflate their offensive stats, and then they disappear for the next stretch. That stretch was on display yesterday, guys. The Reds dropped 2 of 3 against the Astros after dropping 3 of 4 against the Braves. It was a disappointing split with the Cardinals before that. Before that, it was dropping 2 of 3 against the Nationals. After that disappointing split with the Cardinals in that 4-game series before that. What was the stat you had, Elliot? They haven't won a series since when?
They have not won a baseball series. They've won one baseball series since April 21st.
Yeah.
They've won one series. They've won, if you're keeping score, they've only won 4 series on the year. They've won 4 series.
But who is keeping score?
And by the way, if you're curious, nobody. If you're curious to who those teams were, they beat the Pirates, they beat the Rockies, they beat the Giants. Who, I mean, if you want to say the Giants are good, that's whatever. You do whatever. Be who you want to be if you think the Giants are great. And then they beat the Orioles. Those are their 4 wins. 3 of those teams legitimately can't play baseball. So, tough place to be. I mean, it's a tough place to be. They don't win games. They don't win series. They don't have any semblance of consistency at all offensively. They look lost. I mean, we're going to get into who to blame here in a second. But the fact of the matter is they just don't have it. I mean, we can sit here and try to say that they've got enough. They don't have it. They don't have it, and hopefully, eventually, there's going to be a point where the front office does enough. The front office has failed. I mean, they've failed. I think I looked at Twitter this weekend. You know the T-Rex Reds fan, Gingosaurus Rex? He's one of the most optimistic Reds fans I see on Twitter. He's beaten down.
He's thinking about shutting it down.
He's closing the account. He's closing the account down because this team can't do anything. The front office is a failure. It's a failure. That down on the farm stuff that I see when I go to Reds games, they have a whole little segment for it on the video board. And I saw our account tweet it last night. Here's the top 10 Reds prospects. It hasn't worked. I mean, you can give me I understand that it's how it works for everybody else. It hasn't worked here. It hasn't. I love Elly De La Cruz. I love Matt McLain. I love all these guys. But, I mean, at some point, you just have to win baseball games. They don't do it. They just don't win games. And they're not even close. Shout out to Lance McAllister for this. They were 1 hit on Monday. They were 2 hit on Sunday. 2 games with major defensive miscues. 3 times they've been shut out in the last week. Strikeouts, 11, 11, 12, 13, 15, 17.
It's a lot of free pizza.
They're not good. They're not. The pitching staff, God love them, eventually that water is going to find level. And when that happens, then you're lost. Then the season's over.
Or if it doesn't, this pitching staff is just the best pitching staff we've ever seen, it makes the pain of watching this team fail time after time again that much worse.
Yeah.
Part of me, if we're going to score 0 runs a game, part of me wants the pitching staff to get worse.
Yeah.
Because it just feels like we're wasting something that we've waited for and hoped for, and we finally have on that side of the baseball.
When does it get better? When? I'm genuinely asking, when are we supposed to expect this organization to win games? I gave you the benefit of the doubt last year. 2023, you were supposed to be bad anyway. When are you supposed to be good? Down on the farm's great. We got a lot of great prospects. That's awesome. When does it mean we win games? I'm trying to find it, and I don't see the vision. Nick Krall has done a horrible job. I'm sorry. Do we have Elly De La Cruz in Cincinnati right now and we get to watch him play? Yes. That's awesome. Where are the wins? Where are they? You snuck into the playoffs in COVID, which asterisks, I mean, maybe if you play that whole season, they don't finish above 500. I think they finished that season 2 games above 500 only because they played the Pirates 25 times in September or whenever they played in that final month of the season. That's the only reason they made the playoffs that year. I'm genuinely curious when it gets better because it's not. It's not getting better. This team can't win games consistently. If they're 1 series loss away to the White Sox at home right now before me just calling this season over. Just calling it over. I don't want to be negative all the time. I love the Reds. Everybody in here knows I love the Reds. They're my favorite team. I want them to be good. That's all I've ever wanted is them to be good. But they're not. I don't know, and I see, and this is where I start getting to the debates on Twitter. Well, Chris Valaika is the reason the Reds aren't good. The hitting coach is the reason that everybody's taking steps backwards. If you genuinely believe that the hitting coach is making this many changes with the roster and how they're able to swing, I don't think you're paying attention. They weren't good last year. They're still not good this year. Matt McLain was hurt at the beginning of the year. He hasn't been good since. Elly De La Cruz, I don't know what's going on with Elly De La Cruz, but he hasn't looked like the same player. He doesn't square up the baseball anymore. I know he had a home run this weekend. He doesn't square up the baseball. It's a lot of ground balls. And then the rest of the lineup, you just pray one of them can get on base. But Chris Valaika and Terry Francona are not the issue here. They're not. The same way David Bell was not the issue. The issue is that you got a bunch of players that aren't very good. That's what this comes down to. You can't expect to fix last season's offense with 2 players, one of them being Jose Trevino. Austin Hayes hurt. So I don't know where to go. I don't know where you go from here. You can't tear it back down. So you just got to what? Wait? Wait for somebody to do anything? How long does that last? How long does Nick Krall have to fix this? I don't get it. I don't see the vision anymore. I saw the vision in 2023. I saw the vision last year. I saw the vision heading into this season. But I'm losing the vision because the time, the clock that we have right now, this window, boy, it is getting awfully close to being shut. They have won 4 series this year. 3 of them are against absolutely atrocious teams. And 1 was the San Francisco Giants. That's what the Reds have accomplished this season. I don't know how they're only 2 games under 500, so I guess that's a credit to Terry Francona and whoever you want to credit. Because that's the only thing that's like keeping me able to watch. Is somehow, even though they don't win anything, they still are only 2 games under 500. I hope something changes, but you're kind of silly if you expect it to. You're kind of silly.
Yeah, and again, the Reds off today, luckily. You talked about the one series that they did win against a quality team. Obviously, not the Astros. Sorry, they just lost to the Astros, but the Giants. And it's one thing too, like beating up on those bad teams, winning those series. That's great. Losing to good teams is a gut punch. I think the series that they, when they lose series against teams that they have similar records against, that's what hurts the most. When you're splitting with the Cardinals, I felt good about the split, to be honest with you, because the momentum that they took out of that series, it was just kind of the timing. But looking now that we're removed from it, I don't like that split. I don't like the split. I like the fact that they had a chance to split with the Braves. That would have been a win to me. If they would have found a way to leave Atlanta with a split, that would have been a win to me. They couldn't get it done. You talked earlier too about water finding its level with the pitching. If water finds its level with the pitching, it won't be because I don't think guys are pitching above what they're capable of. But at a certain point, this is why I'm going to keep pay very close attention to this. Are we giving up as fans? That's one thing I'm paying attention to. But the second that the pitching gives up, because that can happen, at a certain point, you're just like, think about it in the NFL, like defenses, where you have the really, really good, think about the offense for the Bengals. Let's use that as an example. Not that they ever gave up, but there were probably some mental breaking points throughout the season where Joe Burrow was like, what the hell else do we got to do?
Yeah.
What else do we have to do to win games? Because we saw that frustration for him and the coaching staff and a lot of fans start to boil over last year. With the Reds, it's the opposite. I don't care what the statistical numbers show as far as being top 10, top 12, top 13 in major offensive statistical categories. At a certain point, the pitching staff's going to have to sit there and be like, what the hell else do we got to do? And when that mental fatigue starts to weigh in on them, that's when this can really snowball out of control. Because you're right, Elliot. They're competitive in games because you tune in and it's like, oh man, it's a 1-2 run game. They're right there, a couple runs and they're right back in this. But what happens when the mental toughness of these pitchers, they just finally like, all right, forget it. There's nothing we can do. Everything we do, and then they're going to start to feel that pressure even more of if we win this game, it's going to have to be because of us. When that finally cracks, that's when these couple run lost games are going to turn into 8-0. 11-1, 12-2. That 6-0 shutout, it's nothing to brag about either. You're right, Elliot. At some point, maybe water doesn't find its level in regards to pitchers just not being as good as we thought. At a certain point, it's going to be a mental toughness thing where these pitchers just throw their hands up and say, F it, what else do we need to do at this point?
Yeah, I don't know about too much of that just because it's like they're all fighting for contracts. They're all trying to play well. And when Hunter Green goes out there every single day and he dominates, it's like he's fighting for his next contract. That's the way I imagine a lot of these guys are looking at it. Andrew Abbott, same way. Nick Lodolo, same way. So a lot of them are in there right now just working for themselves, and they should be, because as a team right now, I understand there are worse places to be than where the Reds are. There are. But at the same time, it's like you can't reasonably expect them to do anything. They're not close to being good. They're not.
No.
The division is won. It's over. The Chicago Cubs have won the division. Congratulations to them.
And this is what we were talking about a little bit before the show. The fake optimism that we had most of the year last year throughout the summer, where, we kept looking and, the Reds aren't very good, but I think, they're 3 games back a wild card, 4 games back of the division. I don't think we're going to have that this year.
No.
I don't think we're going to have that crop of the National League playing well below expectation this year that gives us that false sense of security going through the summer that we actually have a chance to make a run and sneak in. The Cubs are going to run away with the Central, and we have way too many good teams in the National League to act like this team can sneak into the wild card at this point. So I don't really know what the plan is for the rest of the year.
Well, and here's the crazy part. The Reds haven't played a hard schedule yet.
Right.
That's the best part of all of this.
That's coming up. You seen June?
Yeah.
June's ugly.
They're skating by right now, playing the worst of the worst. When I say skating by, I mean losing every series.
Right.
So that's what you're dealing with the Cincinnati Reds.
What do you think their record's going to be in a New York, San Diego, Boston, Philadelphia trip? I would guess not very good.
I would bet under 500.
Yeah.
Under 500.
Yeah.
And you know, I credit everybody. I hope this season doesn't spiral. I hope people are still going to games. I imagine the attendance is going to drop off somewhere around July. It's going to be a busy week this week on the 14th. It's going to be packed in Cincinnati at that game. So who knows? I mean, you take care of the White. I imagine they'll sweep the White Sox. They sweep the bad teams, and then you go from there. I don't know. I have no idea, and that's the issue. I don't understand the direction. Where's Nick Krall taking us? What's the end goal here? Is it just a fight for the division? Is that it? Like, you have no aspirations for anything. I know that was the answer when Nick and Trace and Kinner went to the Reds Fest. What was it, last year? It was, what's your goal? What's your expectation? Well, it's the fight for the division. All right. So if your only goal is to fight for the division, we got to be better. You have to be better. Because you know you're not making it the wild card. Jacob just said that. There's way too many teams in those spots right now that are way better than the Reds. You have to take advantage when you play the Milwaukee Brewers, and they don't every single time. The only team they beat is the Pittsburgh Pirates and maybe the Cardinals. That's it. The Cubs are going to come to town, and that offense is going to destroy us. Destroy us. So I hope something changes, but as of right now, it's this season's a disaster. 20-22, and you can sit here and say, oh, well, you know, that's not that bad. It's the same thing as last year. It's literally the same exact start. So take it for what you want, man. I enjoy the season. Enjoy Elly De La Cruz. Enjoy Hunter Green. Enjoy the young guys while you got them, because we don't have them for that long. And I just hope they experience a winning season once.
One thing the Reds did get back over the weekend.
A playoff winning season.
Yeah. Austin Hayes comes back, 9 at-bats, 1 for 9, 4 strikeouts. I also wonder, too, I'm not going to put too much into that 3-game series, but, like, the Reds have a history of, well, he's not 100%, but he's high enough percent. Let's go. And then so we get that false sense of confidence. We're all right, we're getting so-and-so back. We're getting this guy back. I mean, hell, they brought up Noelvi Marte, who played lights out. Come to find out, they brought him back with an injury, and it ended up snowballing and getting worse, and now he's out for months. Austin Hayes, I'm not reacting I'm not overreacting or underreacting to anything, but 1 for 9 in 9 at-bats, since coming off the IL, that short stint, striking out 4 times. He was kind of the life of the offense for a little bit. He was kind of that final puzzle piece that brought out the best in Elly. He was, you couldn't pitch around Elly. There was so many pieces that it just felt like he brought out the best in a short amount of games, only 13 games before going on that IL stint the second time this year. Don't know what to make of that 9 at-bat stint since coming back against the Astros, but something to keep an eye on, because it would be really disappointing to finally get him back. And maybe that's that water line that you were talking about, water met its level. Hopefully that's not the case. Austin Hayes was fun for that couple weeks since coming off the IL the first time. Hopefully he can regain some of that here soon.
Yeah, he struck out 4 times in 9 at-bats. The Reds struck out 40 times in those 3 games. So it might just kind of be the vibes. Yeah, you drop him back in there, and it's just like, you're going to strike out.
It's Chris Valleca's fault.
Oh, that's what I was thinking, yeah. Chase Petty, by the way, can we leave him alone for a little bit? Can we just...
He's going to get one more start. He's going to get one more, right? You'd think Hunter's not going to be back, so they're not going to bring someone else.
They're going to bring Hunter back for the Cubs, and then, yeah. But the Chase...
His ERA did go down.
Batting practice.
His ERA went from like 37 to 24.
Not bad. Good for Chase Petty.
Rhett Lauder made a rehab start yesterday.
Yeah, we don't need to.
He got beat up a little bit.
Nah, didn't.
But he was on the top prospects list.
He was.
So was Chase Petty.
Yeah.
Let's go.
The Reds have a lot of top prospects.
Future's bright, man.
And that's the good news.
Future's bright.
If you only worry about the future, you can never be let down in the present.
Well,
that's big,
isn't it?
That was deep.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Let's look at that prospect list when we come back, and then we'll switch over to the Bengals. Off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Ruring, and Jacob Tissett. We'll be right back. We'll turn our attention to the Bengals and Shamar Stewart and some of the stuff happening in Cincinnati when it comes to the football team here around the corner. But we'll stay with the Reds for a little longer. Obviously, things not going great. They are 2 games under 500, but the problem is the record doesn't bother me as much as where you are with that in the standings. 3.5 back in the division, but 4. That number's getting bigger in the wild card. And the wild card, they're not. We've said it before. You got to win the damn division to make the playoff, and the Cubs seem to be making that impossible. And there's a lot of depth of teams who are fighting for those couple wild card spots, and it could be the whole damn NL West. I think the whole NL West in the Phillies or the Braves or somebody's going to jump in there and hog that, because if the Braves catch fire, the Mets are going to be competing for that division. Philly's going to be right there. The West, the odd men out there are going to be right there for it as well. You have to win the division, and the Reds are falling back further and further in both. We talked about them getting healthier. Obviously, they get Austin Hayes back over the weekend, 1 for 9, striking out 4 times. But as you guys said, it's not as alarming whenever you put it into the big picture. And the big picture is the Reds struck out 40 times over the weekend or something crazy like that. So he was just one of many. But the Reds, they're getting healthier. What does that mean? Unfortunately, you lose Hunter Green. Hopefully he's back in the next couple weeks. But when this team's fully healthy, it's a conversation for later. Just what is the ceiling for this team? Even when they get healthier, it doesn't seem to be moving the needle the way we had anticipated. One guy that is making a rehab start right now that may not actually impact the main roster at all unless Hunter Green's injury is worse than we anticipate is that of a Rhett Lauder. We had Sam LeCure on last week. I'd asked Sam, I'm like, well, obviously we're going to see Rhett Lauder start a rehab stint. If that goes really, really well and he's pitching lights out, what's his role with the Reds right now? He simply said, well, there's no room for him. I mean, right now he's just going to be pitching for the bats, and that's not a horrible thing. Just continue to hone your craft there, dominate the competition there. Chase Petty, we just talked about his struggles. But you look at Rhett Lauder, you look at Chase Petty, obviously a lot of great prospects in this system right now. They just released the updated prospect rankings right now. We'll take a look for those watching on the YouTube side. Pop that up, Case. This is what the Reds' prospect rankings look like right now. Obviously, Chase Burns right there at the top with Rhett Lauder, Cam Collier, Edwin Arroyo. There's Chase Petty coming in at number 90. But that's what the Reds are working with in the MLB pipeline prospects rankings right there.
Good for them.
Yay! Woo!
Chase Petty looks great, so I don't know. I love that ranking for him. Yeah, I mean, it just does nothing for me. I'm
excited to see Chase Burns when he gets here.
I don't know. I'm running out of everything here. So I mean, if they're good, great. I mean, they'll be good for half a season.
Yeah.
And then the front office will say, all right, well, they were good enough, so we can just put the entire roster on their shoulders and see if they can carry us to the promised land. It's a strategy that is yet to be successful. I'm curious if it'll be successful the next time around. But yeah, I mean, it's been an utter failure. Kinner made a good point just then. The 20-22 record, it's not like horrific. Like that's not that bad of a record.
Right.
But it's not really about the record at this point. It's just about how they look on paper.
Yeah.
And when you get shut out, when you score 1 or less runs 11 times in 40 games, you're not contributing anything. I mean, we haven't seen anything this year. So we can keep showing that prospect list. And those guys can play great and down in single A and double A and triple A in the winter leagues. They can play great until their hearts give out down there. But when you come up to the majors, and God love Chase Petty, he's being asked to do something that he shouldn't be asked to do.
Right.
And you look like that, it just weighs differently. It's like, because this is the only way the Reds get good, right here. I look at this list and I'm like, you know what? This is the only way that if all these guys work out, that's the only way they can be good, because God knows this front office isn't going to do anything to help. So they have to be great. If it's not going to be great with this group of guys that we have, with Matt McClain and CES and Elly and everybody else, am I supposed to believe in that group? Am I supposed to believe in the group after that?
Right.
At some point, at just any point, you have to win right now. At just one time, you have to give me like 88 games in a season where they look good.
If the front office is not willing to supplement this roster with this group of prospects, why would they ever supplement any group of prospects?
Yeah, no, they won't. Nick Kroll, I know everybody likes to say get crawled, and they say it as a joke. He's failed. He has not done a good job.
And people blame the front office for saying, he doesn't have money and he's working within constraints. And for a while, I, lived in that camp. But we've seen teams with similar payrolls not miss the playoffs for 30 straight years.
The Tampa Bay Rays.
At some
the
point,
Milwaukee Brewers.
If you know you're working with $100 to $150 million or so, find someone that can win with $100 to $150 million. And clearly Nick Krall cannot.
Every team is able to do it except for the Reds. I don't know how. And the Pirates. Shout out to the Pirates. But it's this never-ending thing. They don't change. It's great that we've got prospects. I'm happy for them. Great. Who's going to win in the major leagues? Anybody? We got anything up here? They've won 4 series against terrible teams. It has to be about winning now at some point. The clock is ticking. 2027 is a lockout year, which means you got, 2 more years of Elly? That's what we got.
2 more years.
You better win at some point. Or else you just got to tear it all down again. And it's just a never-ending cycle where you tear it down, and then you build it up about a quarter of the way, and then it's like, don't like where that's going, tear that back down. They never rebuilt. Like the peak that he's talking about, the peak in the valley, we've never made the peak. We've never had a peak.
June of 23 was the peak.
Correct.
That was
a
the last
12-game
peak.
winning streak defined our future. That's not how good organizations are run. Who knows? Who knows where they go? But right now, I would say I'm pretty frustrated. And every time I see the prospects doing well, it's like, what does that do for me?
Right. I've said this for a while. I feel like this era in Cincinnati is make or break for all these fans. If the Brown family and the Bengals can't win anything with Joe Burrow, then what is there to believe in?
Yeah.
And if the Castellinis and Nick Krall can't win anything with Elly De La Cruz in their lap and Hunter Green, a Cy Young candidate, and the rest of these guys that we do have some level of faith in, then what is there to believe in? I'm going to have to turn into the guy that's just excited to go to the ballpark and loves when Hunter Green's pitching and it's all sunshine and rainbows because wins and losses don't matter because they're never coming. If it doesn't happen with this group, why would we ever believe that it will happen with a different group?
Yeah.
You're not going to get these guys in your lap again. We're Cincinnati. Like, Elly De La Cruz doesn't end up here. Hunter Green doesn't end up here. We already missed an opportunity with a phenomenal core in the early 2010s. And now we have one that might be better in terms of the rare skill some of these guys possess.
Yeah.
And we're pissing down our leg 3 years in a row.
Yeah, at a certain point, the peak of the season can't be, Pete Rose commemorative throwback jersey night. It can't be Star Wars night. It can't be check out the new sushi bar in right field night. Like, at a certain point, it has to be not honoring. At a certain point, it has to be the excitement of the success of the stars of this year. I don't care about bobbleheads anymore. I don't care about sushi bars. I don't care about Star Wars night. I don't care about any of that. All that stuff's firework Fridays. How about Victory Friday? Can we have a few Victory Fridays? Can we have a few series wins, celebrations? How about we just light off fireworks when the Reds win a series? And I think we can all agree that that's a fun time for everybody. I think the priorities are a lot of cheaper bells and whistles to distract you from the fact that we're going to invest into bobbleheads, and I don't even think they truly invest into that. I think that's why they slapped the logo on the bobblehead, because I think Kroger or Grippos or whatever the hell the long list of sponsors are for the Reds, shout out to them, by the way. But the point is, I don't care about that. I don't care about the Kroger meal deal. I don't care about sushi bars. I don't care about the bobbleheads. I don't care about any of that. I just want wins. How much for a good win?
Yeah.
How much for a good series win? How much for a good, hey, look, we're in first place after 2 months into the season? How much for a, cool. Man, I hope the biggest stress we have in October is, man, did you guys get your playoff tickets? Man, it's tough. I can't get playoff tickets.
I wish.
Those are the problems I pray for as a Reds fan one day. Not, and it's so pathetic of me to do this as a sports talk host and all of us all in the content creation business at this point. Can the Reds just be interesting heading into July?
That's all I want.
That's all. That's sad and pathetic. That you think there's no Dodger media. There's no media in LA that's like, well, if the Dodgers can just be interesting enough to get us into July, that'd be great. Then we could turn our attention to the Rams and all the other. No, but that's what we do here. Yeah, this is annoying. It's frustrating, and it bleeds into every conversation we have. That's why when we talk about the trade deadline, when we get to that point, oh no, we can't move on from prospects. Well, we can't move on from prospects so that we can collectively call up the prospects together like this just so we could still feel as bad of ourselves as if we would feel if the Reds did move on from prospects to get guys that would ultimately make us feel bad, because then we wouldn't be able to afford to keep the damn guys that they traded the prospects for to begin with. It's a never-ending misery cycle at the end of the day.
People talk about, the size of the window, and if you roll the dice on prospects as a small market team, you have a bigger window to try to win than if you go all in for a single year or 2 years. That's fine, and you can sell me that for about 28 years. And then I want one win. Then I'm out. And I see people in the chat when, thank you for tuning in every day, but it's, a lot of, why do you guys just rant? Why are you guys so negative? Why is it this? What do you want? Do you want us to lie to you? Do you want us to sit here and tell you that this team's really good and competing for the division and competing for the playoffs and we're proud of 20 and 22? Is that what you want? Because I think we could do that. If that's what is preferable, I don't know. We can make that change, but I cannot wrap my head around why you would be optimistic about the direction of this franchise. We've never seen it.
I don't understand the positivity. I don't live your life how you want to live it. If you want to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, then do it. It's probably the much better way to live your life.
I guarantee you are having a more fun baseball season than we are. I guarantee it.
But it's like, watch the team for a second. I know everybody says, well, the past 30 years don't matter. That's my favorite argument. You can't look at the past. They're a much better, well-run organization right now. They don't win games, ever. They don't win it back then. They don't win it 10 years ago, and they don't win it now. They do nothing. If you want to be positive, go be positive. That's fine. I commend you for it. Live your life with positivity, man. But boy, as I watch this team every single night, positivity is about the last thing that comes to my brain.
I haven't been positive about a Reds game. I mean, even when we scored 10 runs in the first inning, that whole game I was holding my breath for how are we going to blow this.
Yeah.
I mean, we loaded 9 runs. And you knew they were getting shut out the next day.
They've been shut out 7 times. 7. They've scored 1 or less runs 11 times this season. That's a fourth of the season. They are not good. They will not be good when they start having to play real teams.
And I'm always open to listeners, viewers who say, okay, you guys are way too negative. All right, let's pump the brakes. And let's meet halfway here. And I guess I want to ask them, what are we saying? I always tell people, what are we saying that's wrong?
Yeah.
What are we saying that is wrong? And if we weren't saying these things, what could we say that would appease you? Because anything that we could say to appease you would be all BS. What about this team could we say? And by the way, if the Reds go on to win 10 straight games and then we're excited and then you say, you guys are hypocrites, you're always negative, and now you're excited. Yes, that's how sports works. Emotional, frustrated after losses, and then getting excited when there's wins that come. And hopefully we are put in a position to look like hypocrites. That would be fantastic. I would welcome that with open arms. I never understand the people that just throw out a blanket statement like, you guys are too negative. What are we saying that's wrong? It's not like this team has won 10 straight, but we're opening up the show every day saying they've won 10 straight, but man, they could have lost that second game very easily. And yeah, I know they won over the weekend, but the Astros were without 6 of their starters in the lineup, so that win doesn't really count. That's negativity. That I would be on us about, like, hey, let's dial that back. But being down about a team that just continues to fall in the standings more and more and more, and the playoff picture becomes more and more bleak each and every day, and there's no improvements, and there's not, the stuff we could get excited about guys coming off the IL, then there's 2 more guys that go on the IL, and then the guys that do come off the IL look like they should still be on the IL. My big question, everyone that says you guys are just too negative, what are we saying that's wrong, and what could we say that would appease you?
We could just talk pitching.
You can't tell us anything that we're saying is wrong, because it's not. And you can't tell us that we could say anything to appease you, because there's nothing we could say to appease you. So that's always my biggest gripe about that is I understand why fans say, oh, you guys are negative. It's not like we're in the midst of a 10-game win streak and we're just focusing on the negative. This is a team that is not playing very well right now. They haven't won a series in like you said, since mid-April at this point, and we're getting further and further into May. And they're falling further and further back. I don't think we're being too negative. I really don't.
I understand why people want positivity. It's more fun to hear people be positive about the team you like. I think why people are asking so much is because they don't know where to find it themselves at this point. Like they need a reason to validate positivity about this baseball team that was supposed to take a step this year and clearly has not stayed in the same place. Has moved significantly backwards from 2023. Significantly. And that is a problem in what realistically is a 3 to 4 year window.
Yeah.
You can't punt 300 plus games.
Nope.
And that's what they've done.
All right, off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Ruring, and Jacob Tissett with you here. Let's move over to the other team in Cincinnati. And
They're handling everything with flying colors.
Let's see if we can keep this positivity train rolling, shall we? We'll be right back. More off the bench. We'll talk about Shamar Stewart, the Cincinnati Bengals. Obviously rookie minicamp. We'll get to all of that when we come back. Drama in Cincinnati, and it's not with the baseball team. We'll be right back. All right, and we are back off the bench. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Ruring, and Jacob Tissett with you here. Moving on from the Reds. Again, the Reds are off today. They'll be back at it tomorrow with a series against the White Sox. And we'll talk more about that tomorrow and what the Reds can try to gain back what they lost over the last week and a half after winning 2 games, one against the Braves and one against the Astros over the weekend. The Bengals, obviously the draft is now in the past. We'll be focusing on what the schedule is going to look like. We know who the Bengals play, but when they play certain teams matters, and I'm very curious to see what the first 4 games of the season looks like for the Bengals when the schedule reveal comes out later this week. We'll get into that here shortly as well. But the Bengals coming out of the weekend, a lot was made about rookie minicamp getting underway, and it wasn't who showed up. It was, well, technically this guy showed up, but it's who wasn't out on the practice field. Shamar Stewart. Shamar Stewart's
And Demetrius Knight.
So more than
First
one.
and second round pick.
So the first 2 picks of the draft for the Bengals have not participated in practice yet, and that has a lot of people talking. At first, some of the videos that came out, Shamar Stewart, I thought looked. I don't think it looked good on his part initially when the video came out, and he just said, yeah, I just didn't sign it. And I just thought he looked uncomfortable. He looked unprepared to answer that, which I thought was wild. But the more that comes out regarding this situation, it's more of a question mark on the Bengals than it is Shamar Stewart at the end of the day. Shamar Stewart, unfortunately for him, I feel bad that he got put in this position because there's a lot of people doubting whether or not the Bengals made the right pick at number 17 to begin with. So the one opportunity that Shamar Stewart has to right away silence a lot of those doubters is to go look the part on the field. You're not going to prove anyone wrong technically in minicamp or rookie, whatever this is right now. But at least it's a way just to see him out on the field, to see how physically imposing he is, and to kind of quiet down some of the doubt that people have when it comes to whether the Bengals made the right pick at number 17. But now they've put him in a position again where he's not out on the practice field, and some are jumping on him saying, come on, rookie, you're not in position to strong-arm the organization. Get your ass out there and get better and prove that you were worthy of that pick. They've put him in position to look like the bad guy. That's the problem I have, especially when you find out why he's being put in this position. And I'll let Jacob take over from here. But again, just another unnecessarily noisy situation out of Cincinnati that could be easily avoided if the Bengals just stop trying to nickel and dime every tiny situation out there. It does get exhausting after a while.
I think it is important to note that only 11 first-round picks have signed their contract so far, so far from an outlier or anything to be worried about when it comes to Shamar Stewart not being signed. However, I will say most of those guys are participating while unsigned, and Amarius Mims didn't sign his rookie deal last year until July 22nd. He participated throughout the entirety of the offseason camp. The Bengals are the only NFL team out of the 32 teams to have a one-day rookie minicamp. So in my eyes, potentially Shamar Stewart uses that single day of just rookies on the field to make his position known about the contract. And maybe we see him as soon as tomorrow with the open media practice on Tuesday. Hopefully that is the case. But as we continue to find out more and more about why these deals with Stewart, and I assume Demetrius Knight falls under the same umbrella. Most of these reports are just about Shamar Stewart, with him being the first round pick and the biggest name of the defensive additions this offseason. Obviously that's the case. So Mike Florio reported that, per source with knowledge of the situation, the Bengals tried to get Stewart signed, making a push before the one-day minicamp. As we understand it, the talks bogged down regarding the percentage of compensation in future years to be paid as a training camp roster bonus. This roster bonus has become a device for putting a sizable chunk of the player's pay in his pockets for future years earlier in the season. In this case, the numbers offered by the Bengals reflected a lower percentage of the contract than Dallas Turner, last year's 17th overall pick, received from the Minnesota Vikings. So the NFL draft is very set. It's not slots like baseball, but it's pretty damn. But I do think that's a hard thing to ask when we don't necessarily know what the Bengals injury guarantees are, what the Bengals training camp guarantees are. All we know is reports that they don't line up with the rest of the league. Yeah. So I think it's very tough as we learn more about the situation to put much blame on either of these rookies. But also in another sense, how much time can the Bengals keep doing this, man? How do you keep
Why are they
unnecessary
what's
hurdles?
Do you know what their, even if you disagree with it, do you know what their justification is for going this route of coming up short of what the market is?
Casey,
basically?
Unless I'm missing one in the last few years, I don't remember this happening. I mean, Mims didn't sign till July, but he practiced all summer last summer in rookie minicamp and everything like that. I mean, I would imagine the Bengals didn't drastically change their contract structure this year, unless maybe they did.
If you're only talking about a Bengals example, I can't remember a time where two players ever sat out for contract issues and the way that things are hitting the books.
Right.
I can't remember a time, at least, that's ever happened. But I know it's happened before with other teams. I just don't like.
I just mean the sense of the report is that they're holding out because the Bengals contracts are so different from the other 31 teams. And I feel like if that's been the case for a decade, this would have happened before. So I think that's where a lot of my confusion comes in with this whole thing.
Yeah, I mean, one of the quotes is that they're doing it for future Bengals rookies to make sure that those
White Knight, Shamar Stewart.
Yeah,
Thanks, buddy.
to make sure that this doesn't happen again to other rookies. And I think there's also like part of the language of like the types of injuries that they can sustain that won't be covered is a big issue too. Like that's just like wording, and it's just Stone Age. It's the same crap that we've talked about this team time and time again being accused of, and they just continue to find more ways of not just like the money pinching thing, but like how you just actually write out the contract, how you actually are allowing these guys to play on these deals without being covered in a sense of just your health, your injury risk. And so it's just really frustrating at this point that we're taking a step forward, 2 steps back.
And the
is
reason,
what it feels like.
Yeah, absolutely. You're right. And I think the reason why I'm even more fully in it's the Bengals' fault camp is because of who's holding out. It's our first and second round pick. It's the only 2 draft picks in that draft class that have any kind of leverage. So that leads me to believe that maybe there is some discrepancies between these contracts. They signed 3 through 6 pretty quickly.
I don't remember there ever being a time where a first and a second on the same team held out
Either.
for the same reasons. I don't remember that ever happening. I think this is just a Bengals thing. and it's only happened maybe like once prior to that, but I couldn't recall.
Yeah.
Again, the fact that we're talking about the wording of contracts and when this money is hitting the bank accounts for these players and how outdated it is and how much money it is, it's really tired. I mean, what are we talking about here? Like maybe a couple months, and we're talking about a couple $100,000 probably.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make sense, man.
I go right back to not caring at all if he's out there, either today or tomorrow.
Agreed.
Even if he's not unsigned. Plenty of these guys are unsigned, and they're actually practicing.
Joe Burrow needs to be out there, though. But Shamar Stewart...
Unless he has a Met Gala or something. But, yeah, I mean, if Shamar Stewart isn't out there in training camp with the rest of the team and all the coaches because he's negotiating a contract, I'm going to have a problem with him at that point. Because we've seen plenty of first-round picks now that are negotiating their contract while working out, while working with the coaches, while being on the field. And he said, I'm doing everything else except for on the field. Buddy, you had 4.5 sacks. I think you're good off the field.
Yeah.
We're going to need you to do it on the field. Mm-hmm. We drafted you because you look good in a T-shirt and shorts. We're going to need you to play football at some point. So
is any of this because they look at him knowing you're our first-round pick, but you did only have 4.5 sacks in college?
I do think that it comes into play. I think because I think that it's like
you owe us. Like we drafted you.
Like we took a shot.
Yeah,
on
you owe us. That's what I was questioning.
And I don't think that's completely wrong. I think it's probably most likely not the main reason, but I do think there is a point to where every pick the Bengals had, I would say, for not every pick, but a decent amount of picks were considered reaches by a lot. And maybe you look at the stats and you say, what's our justification for giving you the best contract that you deserve right now? I look at your numbers and what you have to be as a Trey Hendrickson replacement. It's hard for you to do that given your 4 career total sacks.
Yeah.
And you look at that contract and you're like, let's see what you got. Let's see what you got first. And then if you're going to dominate, maybe we'll pay you after. The issue with that is we know when that contract is up, they're not going to pay. So
right.
I think that's the crux of the issue as to why I don't understand what the Bengals are doing. I don't understand it. If you're not going to pay them for the second part of the contract anyway, then why not make the first part at least like engaging for the first round draft pick that you signed or that you picked? You know what I mean? And all of this has to come into the fact that, like Jacob said too, there's a lot more first-round picks that haven't signed. The league is still changing. The way money is handled in the NFL and in college football and with these agents, everything's still moving. It's always in change. So this isn't like a major deal. Like I said, it's May 12th. So this isn't going to be a story going forward. But the fact of the matter is, as the Trey Hendrickson thing continues to go on, and you still have stuff like this happen, it's just all the fingers, they go point right back up to Mike Brown and Duke Tobin and everybody else that runs the Bengals. And it's like, this is why nobody trusts you. I think it's just a story for us more than it's an actual story on the field. But yeah, I think that, sure, does it come into play that some of these guys didn't have the world's greatest college careers? I think so. I think that does come into play.
And if that's the case, then it's like, so you're admitting, Bengals, that you maybe reached. Are you admitting that if that's the case? Because I feel like if this is a third or fourth rounder that's doing this, whatever, I think it's very significant because you mentioned it, Jake. It's the first and the second round pick that's jumping in there, as well. And, if the Eagles, if this was the Philadelphia Eagles, I don't think anyone's even batting an eye at this story. It is what it is because the Eagles have the trust of their fan base and football fans across the league that that you trust their front office. They get it done. The Bengals, to their credit, they technically get it done. They just, as Jake said earlier, they make it way harder than it has to be. What I'm fascinated by is to see who ultimately wins this, if you will. Is he going to get everything that he asked for? If that's the case, if the Bengals are going to give him what he's asking for, why not you should just given it to him from the beginning just to avoid a potential hiccup here. Or do the Bengals finally win one? Maybe the Bengals just feel like they've been beat up. The front office, they're a little, we all love Joe Burrow, right? As Bengals fans, all of us.
Yeah.
We all love Joe Burrow. The front office, I'm sure they love Joe Burrow, but were they loving Joe Burrow at the Super Bowl when he's up? Throwing them under the bus left and right, and that's not what he was doing. He was holding them accountable. So that I don't want that to be misconstrued as me taking a shot. I'm not. My point is, they've had a tough go of it. You know, they've had a very tough go of it as of late. They've lost they didn't really want to keep T. Higgins most likely. They had to keep T. Higgins. They wanted to pay Jamar Chase. They didn't want to pay him $40, but they had to pay him $40. Like, they're losing a lot of these battles, if you will. And it's self-inflicted wounds on their end because they're not handling these situations right. I will tell you, I don't put Trey Hendrickson in the conversation with these others. They were in the right. They got him a contract offer. He accepted it. He's the one making noise. I don't think the Bengals are making noise with Hendrickson. They're sticking to their guns there. They did make noise, unnecessary noise with Jamar Chase last year. They made unnecessary noise with T. Higgins, and now they're not to the same severity of those others, but they're making noise with this particular situation that I don't think is necessary. Ultimately, who wins this tug of war? Is he going to get exactly what he's asking for, Shamar Stewart?
I bet he gets more guarantees in the next few years.
I think he has the leverage in this specific situation because the Bengals literally can't afford to miss another draft pick, especially in the first round like that. So the defense, they know the Bengals, being they, are aware of the issue, and they have to have good defensive players added in there. If they're not going to do it via free agency, they're going to do it in the draft, and these guys that they draft have to contribute. So I imagine they're going to get close to whatever they want by the time this season starts. But it just goes back to the point where all these distractions, like, just limit the distractions.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll have a pleasant, stretch up until the season.
It feels like most of the issues we've faced over the last 3-4 years in this Joe Burrow window are incredibly self-inflicted.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, and it's not like players getting in trouble off the field.
Right.
It's not like the Browns noise. It's not the recent Ravens noise. It's not guys getting arrested in like the Georgia players, like the Raiders having to deal with their situation. Like, the Bengals have been very, very noisy, but it's not because of bad character guys on the team. It's all front office stuff, and that's what gets annoying at the end of the day.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, it's just about the way that they've done things needs to change. They've not done that at the speed that we wish that they would do it at. They've slowly been changing, but it's just not good enough. The window's closing, and we're dealing with petty contract wording. And it's just like, I don't know. It gets tired. It gets really tired. I saw that earlier on in the chat here that Craig was saying that it was about the way that they word it from protection from injury. Yes. How do they protect them from injury? Guaranteed money earlier. That's what he's talking about. That's why the 2 and 2 are kind of together in the same hand. It's when they get that money into their account so then that they're protected when they get injured. And what does it cover? Doesn't cover enough of the injuries. It's only like career-threatening injuries or something like that, which is just utterly ridiculous. It should be any sort of injury that they're somewhat protected at some rate. But maybe I'm just not. I'm naive to how the NFL works in that regard. But anyways, Bengals, Stone Age. What's new?
All right, off the bench, Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett with you here. Thought this was funny. We'll take a look at this when we come back. ChatGPT predicts the next 50 Super Bowl winners.
Yeah, that was hilarious.
My former
Luckily,
team.
you switched teams.
Yeah, luckily I picked a winner. How many Super Bowls does ChatGPT think the Bengals will win over the next 50 years? We'll dive into that. Plus, the schedule reveal comes out later this week. How much do you guys care about that? Do you care about it at all? I do. I'm curious your guys' thoughts. We'll get to that to close out the radio side of this when we come back. All right, and we are back off the bench. Happy Monday. Hope everybody had a great weekend. ChatGPT predicts the next 50 Super Bowl winners. Very curious to see how many of these
Are real.
How many Super Bowls? Yeah, ChatGPT. How many Super Bowls do they envision our Cincinnati
That's right.
Bengals? Our, sorry, old habits, tough to break. How many Super Bowls does ChatGPT have our Cincinnati Bengals winning over the next 50 years? We'll pop it up for those watching on the YouTube side. It looks like a good dose. 2.
Sign me up, man.
Not just 2, but most importantly, ChatGPT does believe that this year's Cincinnati Bengals, Shamar Stewart or no Shamar Stewart, are the favorites to win a Super Bowl, at least in 2026. How about that? The Bengals are predicted to win the Super Bowl this upcoming season, but twice over the next 50 years, according to our friends over at ChatGPT.
I mean, what a joy that would be. What a joy.
So you're telling
my life would be.
If you gave me one, like I've said this 100 times, one is all I want.
Oh yeah, no,
just give me one and nothing else matters.
If you promised me we win the Super Bowl this year, I don't know what I wouldn't sign up for.
Oh yeah, just give me the one. Just give me this year. Let me have my parade and let's all have fun. It looks like there's a couple made-up teams that have won a Super Bowl before your Cleveland Browns.
The San Antonio Spurs or the relocated Arizona Cardinals.
Okay.
So I guess they do exist.
What about the other?
There's
What about
teams
that
out
other?
of the country? There's
The
teams-
Archers, the St. Louis Archers.
Is that what those are?
Then we got Mexico City Aztecs and the
Okay.
Toronto Huskies.
Okay.
Oakland got a team back. The Oakland Invaders.
Invaders.
And then London and Paris.
Okay, so all those teams have won a Super Bowl, and the Cleveland Browns still have not. That's sad.
That's good.
It's good that you're a Bengals fan now, Kenner. I'm glad you get to enjoy this with us.
Thank goodness. That's all I have to say when it's all said and
Would
done.
there be problems with the San Antonio Spurs, the expansion football team? I feel like you could run into some
Well, when Wembanyama
copyright issues.
when Webb and Yama and Giannis Antetokounmpo take the Spurs now and send them to Vegas, I think it opens the door for this.
But if the Spurs are in Vegas, then where are the Mavericks?
No, that's right. I think the Mavericks are playing in London.
Okay.
The Mavericks.
We're
go to
talking
London.
about football.
Oh, Nico strikes again, huh? Nico strikes again, huh? He's
Nico
relocated.
ships him out.
Healthier. It's much healthier outside
That's
of the
right.
fat U.S.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Yes, but it was offensive. The old Kinner would have been offended by the fact that the Browns don't fall on this list, but old Browns fan Kinner would have also been even more offended by the fact that not only are the Browns not on that list, there's made-up teams that aren't even in this country that are
Five
winning
of them.
Super Bowls over the next 50 years.
ChatGPT made up 5 teams.
The
instead of
Archers
Cleveland
won
Browns.
3 Super Bowls.
The Paris Revolutionaries.
That is by far my least favorite team ever in the made-up NFL.
You don't like that one?
No.
I think that one would be a tough one.
If they try to put my beautiful sport over there,
Oh no.
it's over.
So to be clear, ChatGPT has the Bengals winning it in 26, the Eagles in 27, the Chiefs in 28. Very happy for Patrick Mahomes. I'm glad that he's gonna, reload and kind of get it going again. I was
That's
worried
right.
that we'd seen the end of a dynasty, but according to ChatGPT, that is not the case. The Cowboys, according to ChatGPT, end their long drought in 2034.
With Dak or no Dak?
That's a very good. Well, yeah.
Has to be without that.
You think?
Has to be without him.
10 years?
Yeah. Trey Lance's show.
Yeah, the Jets get it done in 35, and even the Bears figure it out.
Shout out Caleb.
In 36. So.
Joe winning before Josh and Lamar. That's all I
Yeah.
ever care about. And
That's
shout
right.
out ChatGPT.
That's right. And by the way, there was one more football headline this weekend. I forgot to mention it here. Derek Carr, a.k.a.
That's right.
Andy Dalton 2.0, has retired from the glorious game of football. What was your favorite Derek Carr moment?
He is the quarterback with the most losses in your 9th, 10th, and 11th season.
Wow, how about that?
His brother David Carr is the quarterback with the most losses in your 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th season.
How about that?
Derek Carr, because I'm a Bengals fan now, my favorite Derek Carr memory was he helped the Cincinnati Bengals end a 3-decade-long playoff losing drought. So I appreciate that quarterback stepped up to help Joe Burrow and the Bengals win that game, and then Joe Burrow just took over from there. It was all full steam ahead. But, yeah, that was my favorite memory there. What a weird scenario going on over New Orleans, by the way.
Yeah, they are. Are they going to try to win football games?
It doesn't seem likely, no.
But why haven't they tanked already?
Yeah, I don't understand it. I mean, it seems like they're not going to be able to win.
When did Drew Brees retire? Was that 2019 or 2020?
I don't know. I don't
Well,
remember.
since then,
They weren't good even with Drew
but
Brees
that
at the
since
end.
that, at least they just kind of walked him out there and he broke a record every Sunday.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, they have been terrible since he left.
Yeah.
Terrible. And they're in a horrible cap situation. They have like 2 or 3 fun players. You have Tyler Shuck in there playing quarterback this year.
That's tough.
You got to think. And I think, you got to trade everyone. You got to trade Kamara. You got to trade Olave.
Did they just sign Kamara, though?
Yeah, I think he has a $50 million cap hit this year.
I don't know what the New Orleans Saints are or what they're going to do, but yikes. Good news is that division is still kind of always open, though.
Is it?
Well, you think the Falcons are
I think
taking
the
over?
Bucks are pretty significantly better
No,
than
I
most
don't
of the
think
other
so.
teams.
I think the Bucks are good. I think they're all in that same kind of category, except for the Panthers.
Yeah, Panthers sneaky. I bet I'm Bryce Young to win the MVP.
Yeah,
Yeah, and by the way,
plus $2 trillion.
I think it was 17-1, something like that.
Outrageous.
if they need a quarterback, the Browns have a few. If they need to,
They're not all making it,
not-
right? It's going to be Kenny and Flacco duke it out for who's going to start week 1 and the other one gets cut.
Let me ask you guys this: Is there any chance that he is like a Sam Darnold, like resurrects his
No.
career type?
No, 'cause
not
he wasn't-
resurrects. Finds his career.
He wasn't good in college, so no, there's no chance.
Zero.
All he did was fake slide in a bowl game, and that got him picked in the first round. So, yeah, there's no chance. He can't hold a football. His tiny, tiny hands, little baby hands.
saw that, yeah.
Did he make a throw farther than 5 yards last year?
He made a throw less than 1 yard.
I was going to say, he did that a lot. I don't know if he did. He had a run. Didn't he have a scramble
He
once?
did. That one time.
Okay, so I certainly wouldn't employ Kenny Pickett to quarterback my football team.
No.
But, it worked well with the Steelers, so maybe it'll work well with Cleveland as well.
It did?
No.
Oh. Flacco.
I would trust at least you're having fun with Flacco up until you start losing every game.
Are you having more fun with Flacco or like Dylan Gabriel?
Flacco. Way more fun with Flacco.
See, I think I totally disagree with that. I think Dylan Gabriel's probably the most fun option.
No. I think Shador is the most fun. Just because
I think Shador's the worst option.
No, because at least you get to talk about it.
But no, I think the optimism
if
of Shador not playing poorly is better than when he goes in there and inevitably sucks.
Maybe. But I think you at least get to, like, Kenny Pickett. If Kenny Pickett's the worst.
Kenny Pickett's the worst option.
Kenny Pickett's the worst.
By a mile.
Okay, if you want to give me that, then that's fine. I'll take Shador at 3.
By a
whatever.
mile.
But outside, but like you get to like have the conversations. It won't be good. They won't be pleasant.
No,
but at least
no,
you'll get to talk about it.
Speaking of
I
conversations,
think Dylan Gabriel. You just know what you got.
have you seen the questions being asked to Kevin Stefanski at Browns camp?
Oh boy.
I mean, man, is anyone still wondering why Shador fell in the draft?
No.
You saw what the question I'm talking about. They walked up to Stefanski after the practice and they asked him. They said, why did Dylan Gabriel get the first team, or not first team? Why did Dylan Gabriel get reps over Shador Sanders? Was that draft position? Stefanski was like, well, we'll change it around. We'll mix them all in. And they were like, well, no, but why?
Yeah.
Come on, guys. He's a 5th-round pick.
Yeah.
Maybe this is why no one wanted him in their locker room. It's a circus.
From what I'm hearing, he's having, a great rookie minicamp. He's tearing it up. Jaden Daniels 2.0
Yeah.
from what I'm hearing.
Yeah, if every positive Dylan Gabriel tweet is my favorite set of replies to read in Twitter history. Everyone. It's my new favorite set of replies. Because, these fans, man, they'll fight real hard for a quarterback that's just absolutely terrible.
Oh yeah.
What will pain you more, Lamar winning a Super Bowl before Joe Burrow, or when you look at Shador, him actually being good in Cleveland? Which one would hurt more?
If Shador can lead Cleveland to like a perennial playoff team, that would crush me.
So that would be worse than Lamar winning a Super Bowl.
Because I respect Lamar Jackson.
Yeah, he's a 2-time MVP.
I respect Lamar Jackson.
All right, fair enough. What about Josh Allen?
I can't talk about Josh Allen on this show because I love Josh Allen.
Josh Allen's great.
Too much.
Fair enough. MVP.
Too much.
There you go. Schedule release comes out this week. Cincinnati Bengals 1-3 in the month of September last year.
That's right.
1-3 in September the year before that in 23. 2-2 in 22, and then 3-1 in 2021. Slow starts are obviously something that has really plagued this team over the last couple of years, that they've really had to dig themselves out of a hole. Early on last year, obviously, people always say, well, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. I think the Bengals are kind of the exception to that rule. To the point, they're the exception to the rule, almost to the point to where the Bengals are so good in the final month of the season that it literally had a segment on the show, and it's my fault, where I'm like, well, do you want a coach in Mike Tomlin who can't win at all in the final month of the season, or a coach in Zach Taylor who can't lose in the final month of the season? That's how good the Bengals always are in the final month of the season, but the problem is it always gets neutralized by how poor they are to start, the hole that they have to dig themselves out of early. I see a lot of people, or I've had a lot of people that tell me that they don't care about the schedule release. They already know who the team is going to play. I agree. I don't think the Eagles, who they play in September, matters. I don't think that their schedule release matters. I do know that they will kick off the season against the Dallas Cowboys on Thursday Night Football. That was announced already. But I think when you're a team like the Bengals, who their biggest problem over the last couple of years has been not how they finish, but how they start a season, I think the schedule release for the Bengals is very, very important. I am very intrigued to see how this is going to go. You do play Buffalo. They do play you play at Green Bay. There's some tough opponents.
I can read them right now if you want.
Yeah.
On the road, you have the Ravens, Browns, Steelers, obviously, Bills, Packers, Dolphins, Vikings, Broncos.
Yep.
All on the road. At home, you have your 3 divisional opponents. Then you have the Bears, the Lions, the Patriots, the Jets, the Jaguars, and the Cardinals.
So those are
I will say, I don't know how many. I know it's Joe Burrow and the Bengals who legitimately, I'm pretty sure it's a ratings bonanza when they play, because you're getting a 45-40 game. I don't know how many prime time games at home the Bengals would have.
I had a different takeaway from this matchup, and I think we're easily maxing out
Really?
7.
You think so?
And I think we're guaranteed a home AFC North primetime game.
I agree with that. I think you're going to get a home and a road AFC North primetime game. But the games.
I think the Lions and the Bills and the Packers, all 3 will.
Lions, maybe.
And if it's not the Packers, I think they can easily sell Joe and Jamar and Justin Jefferson as a primetime game with the Vikings.
Yeah, okay.
With the classics that we saw with the Ravens, we get bored with divisional games, but I could see that one being national.
One of those two will absolutely be in primetime. And if I had to guess, they're going to give it to us here.
Yeah, I
The
think
last 2 years we've played primetime games in Baltimore. So if you're going to make that primetime again, I don't know how you put us there again.
Those games were wild last year.
Incredible.
They're going to jump on those.
I would imagine that they give one of those games early in the season a primetime slot and put one of them TBD week 15, 16, 17. And Goodell sits there and prays that game in 17 can be flexed to primetime for the division.
Yep.
I also think after the way week 18 played out last year, do they throw us and the Broncos back in primetime? That game was incredible.
Maybe, yeah.
So, I mean, I think this setup, and that's not even looking at, some of the other matchups. You have Drake May on the Patriots. If we play them late in the year and he's picking up steam with Vrabel and all that young core, maybe they're a really exciting team. Tua versus Burrow. How many times have we played the Dolphins in prime time since those two have been in the league? So
hopefully later in the season, the better. But, the Dolphins are
matter.
fine. I'm not worried about the Dolphins this year. Yeah.
Come on. I think this schedule is going to be really fun this year.
As long as they don't give us the Steelers schedule last year, as long as they don't just kill us in the back half.
6 divisional games in the last 8 weeks.
Yeah, I'm all good, and then the Steelers actually powered through that. So I'm all good. I'm all good with it. I just spread them out. Spread them out. If we can get Patriots early, that's where I want the Patriots.
Wow. Famous last words.
Well, last year was. We'll call it a fluke. A 5-year fluke.
Who do you want first?
Is it division or out of the division for week 1?
I want out of the division.
See,
first.
I want the division.
I want
to know.
Okay.
I want to know if something
You
changed.
want all right. Then do you want his?
No, I want to play the Ravens in primetime.
Okay, I like that. I like that. You think they'll give the Ravens primetime? They gave Ravens primetime the first game last year. I wonder
the kickoff game.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
I wonder if they'll do it.
What's more of a lock to be the most viewed game of the year than Burrow Lamar?
Yeah, that's
the NFL Twitter account posted a 5-minute highlight of their highlights against each other last year. Just Joe and Lamar, 2 games. They were incredible. That was the tweet.
It was incredible.
It was a sweet tweet.
Burrow's being viewed as the favorite to win the MVP, right? This upcoming season.
I don't believe so.
He's up there.
He's up there.
But so when we looked that up, Bills Bengals week 1. MVP Josh Allen going up against what many view as potential the favorite to win MVP this upcoming season. I could see Bills Bengals kicking off.
Lamar and Josh tied at first at plus 550. Joe Burrow third at plus 650. Patrick Mahomes fourth plus 700. Jaden Daniels plus 750, and then a massive drop off after those names.
Man, the Jaden Daniels thing's interesting. Jaden Daniels or Joe Burrow would be my.
Nice.
Who was it?
80 to Young. 80 to Young. 80 to 1
I'm
for
taking
Bryce
it.
Young.
I'm taking it. Tet. I believe in Tet.
Yeah.
Jason Fitz, you are wrong.
But no, yeah, Case, who do you think the Bengals will? I mean, we're days away from them announcing this, but who do you think they open up the season against?
I feel like it's been more non-division, right, as of late?
It used to have to be division, but it's obviously not anymore. We played the Patriots first last year.
Yeah. I'm not. The only thing that I hope for is that if we're gonna play early on in the season, I hope it's out of conference.
Out
first.
of conference, okay. I like
So
that.
it'd still be a good game because you're playing against like the NFC North probably,
Yeah.
which is like the Lions or the Packers or any of those teams, Vikings. It'd be really cool to just play Vikings week 1 again and then beat them, and
That would
then
be
you
fun.
just redo the whole Super Bowl year. That'd be kind of fun. But yeah, that's the only thing I really want out of the schedule release is favorable early for us, which means NFC North or just some NFC team, because we suck early. We suck week 1, week 2. So
Which matchup are you most excited for? Obviously, kind of take the division out of that because, we're going to play them every year. I think the answer is probably, Browns, Ravens, Steelers, just because that's how great the AFC North is and all these rivalries rock. But what's your most excited matchup on this list?
I've got mine.
I think it's probably going to be the Bills game.
Yeah, that's a fun one.
If I'm taking away the Ravens game, it's going to be the Bills. I think that you go back to Buffalo and you prove that you can just stomp them again.
I want that one as late as possible. Give me 6 inches of snow.
Yeah.
Give me the best visual game of the year.
Well, that's why I'm going to say I do like Lambeau.
That's mine.
The Bengals Lambeau in the snow is going to be fun. If I couldn't pick that one, I'd go with the Lions. But I'm excited to see the orange in Lambeau Field.
That's going to be awesome. You only get to play there every 8 years.
Yeah.
So the fact that we get to play there now, and who knows if in 8 years it's even going to be the Lambeau it is right now.
Mm-hmm.
So very lucky. I'm going to try to get up for that one for sure. I think a sneaky one that no one's talking about because they're not a good team.
Yeah.
How lucky are we as Bengals fans we get to see Travis Hunter play at home in person this year?
Yeah.
Travis Hunter's coming to Paycor, and he's going to play both sides of the ball on his rookie season.
Mm-hmm.
That is awesome.
That's going to rock.
That's going to rock. I think that's a game that is going to be, regardless of what the Jaguars' record is, that's going to be maybe a sneaky primetime shove. Thursday night game, you got to give the Jaguars one. Why not give them against the Bengals? Put Travis Hunter in there. I wouldn't be surprised if the Jaguars are towards the top of the list of primetime teams.
I want the Jags to go 0-17.
Yeah.
I want the Browns to. Oh, no. The old Kinner would have wanted the old Kinner. This is how I would have thought. 2 weeks ago. The old Kinner would want the Browns to be as competitive as possible on their end, while the Jags lose every game on their end. So you have your cake and eat it too. Browns fans should want their team to try to win as many games as possible, and then let the Jaguars hand them the number 1 overall pick.
You traded a generational two-way talent for a fat slob that threw up in his first practice.
You saw that, huh?
Yeah.
Saw that, huh? Never felt better to be a Bengals fan than when I saw. That's what I would look like out there.
No,
big difference though.
No,
Mason
I don't
Graham.
think so. What is he? 5'5", 5'6"? He's real small.
Thanks.
real quick.
I think Kinner and Mason Graham are pretty similar.
Who are the 6 teams? If the Bengals are maxing out, who are the 6 teams that are going to get it? We both think that we get 2 divisional games, probably one on the road, one at home.
I would say Ravens, Steelers.
I would say Ravens, Steelers there. Outside of that, I think Lions is definitely going to be one.
Bills.
I think Bills is going to be one. Okay, so we need 2 more.
Vikings, Packers.
I think Packers.
I don't think 2 NFC North teams are getting it.
Might
I think
be.
one
Guys-
of those 2 is a good bet. I don't think they're giving 2 NFC
then
North
Denver.
Bengals.
I could see
And then I
Broncos.
would go either Denver or Jacksonville.
If I will say this, and you may not agree, if Shador is the starting quarterback in Cleveland, I think you get Shador and Burrow in one of those.
1,000,000%.
But I think it just maybe that's a flex game later on or something. I don't know.
They
But I
wouldn't-
think if Shador is the starting quarterback in Cleveland, they will bill it as Burrow versus Sanders,
Yeah.
and that'll be.
They won't put it early because they won't know.
Yeah.
So they'd have to do it like a
It'd be that
TBD
second
game at the back end of the
Maybe
year.
Halloween.
I
Halloween
could
could be.
I
they
absolutely.
always,
Oh
yeah.
my God, no!
They always pair them up.
Do
on
not make us go
Halloween.
back to Cleveland on Halloween. Oh my gosh, what a nightmare that was.
So the Bengals have kicked in 2021. They opened up the season against the Vikings. 22 against the Steelers. Cleveland in 23. Last year the Patriots, and we find out on Thursday who they open up the season up against.
That's right.
This week. We'll have Jay Morrison on to give us more. By the way, we weren't on last week when they, introduced us to the new Pope.
That's
but
right.
The last time a new Pope was the last 2 times that a Pope was introduced. This was a stat of the J. Shout out to Jay Morrison. The last 2 times that a Pope was introduced, the Bengals won the division both times.
That's a good stat.
Okay.
I like that stat.
The Pope, I saw that. I don't know how they found it. Somebody dug up the fact that he was on the World Series broadcast.
So there was a Facebook post like 2 days before that showed that he was at the game.
Yeah.
So they knew which game to go through.
Okay.
So it's kind of cheating. I've seen a lot of people giving him credit saying, "Oh, they scrubbed through the whole
Yeah.
playoffs." But the sitting Pope knows who Paul Konerko is.
That's right. He was there.
The leader of the Catholic Church saw Tim Anderson get knocked out live. Probably.
Most likely. He watched the Field of Dreams game.
100 and what? How many losses last year? Drove him to
41
the church.
and 41,
Yeah.
whatever.
My favorite was all the Pope parlays that started making their way, popping up on DraftKings and ESPN Bet. And all
and
the
I
ones,
love that every team in Chicago can use it and have fun except for the Cubs. Every single one. There's been Popes at the games. There was one sitting courtside for the Bulls, and the White Sox had one, and I'm sure the Bears will have. Cubs can't use it. Oh, it's great. It's great.
All right, that wraps it up for us. We will have box lunch coming up.
We do have box lunch.
So there you go. But as far as radio goes, we are done until tomorrow. This has been Off the Bench. Justin Kinner, Casey McAllister, Elliot Rearing, and Jacob Tissett. Happy Monday, everybody. All right, only about 9 minutes left. Then you got box lunch coming up here around the corner. You said you had some fun stats.
Lance McAllister, shout out Lance. He had another stat that I thought was very, very fun. The Reds crossed over the 40-game mark this weekend. They have been below 500 at that mark for how many consecutive seasons, do you think, Kinner? We'll go around the room.
But the sad thing is I saw this tweet and forgot what the number was, but it was an absurd number.
20?
12 consecutive years the Reds have been below 500 at the 40-game mark.
Oh, that's Dusty, right?
Yeah.
2013?
Yeah.
Nice.
Oh, that's right, because Zach Cozart said this. He goes, coincidentally enough,
Yeah.
everyone loves, taking something controversial at the peak of Reds fandom being very uptight and then throwing out Dusty Baker's name, because that'll bring everyone together.
That's a name that everyone in Reds fandom unanimously agrees on and loves.
Yeah. I do give the Reds or Nick Krall a little bit of credit too. I know, say whatever you want about Terry Francona and all that. Like the peaks and the valleys, he's avoided them. I mean, he's just consistently right below terrible.
I would argue that this season we've had the most extreme peaks and valleys as anyone's ever had.
I don't hate that take. I think that's right around. I think that's probably accurate.
And it is the way to eliminate the peaks and valleys overall to have more peaks and valleys during a given season.
Yeah.
Because if you follow up every great performance with the worst performance ever, then you'll end up average, which is no peaks and valleys.
Nick Krall's got it locked down.
I think he's smart, man.
Get crawled.
Get crawled.
Get crawled. That's how I operate. Alex Wallace wants us to bring on Zach Cozart. Anybody want to bring him on? I don't have his number.
Not talking Reds.
Yeah, I don't think we
but
talk Reds.
I would love to have Cozart on.
To talk.
Just have a great conversation.
Dun, 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 dun. He loves that topic.
He does.
Jake,
and
too.
I respect it. I saw there was a player on Twitter, a former Red. I won't name names, but there was a former Red going on Twitter yesterday saying basically what some of the chat was saying today. Too
much negativity.
Too much negative. There's plenty of time. There's plenty of time. Why are we so down on the Cincinnati Reds? And I agree with him. A lot of time. There's so much future ahead of this team. They're not in the present, but there's a lot of future. Just look at the prospect rankings. Just look at them. That's the difference.
The future is bright in Cincinnati, but the now is never.
Yeah.
Now is never.
Yeah.
But who knows? Who knows?
That's always my big gripe about Cincinnati with the Reds all the time when it comes to the prospect pushing. I'm just like, we talk all the time, we can't get rid of this guy for the future because of the future. But when is the future now, though? Like, think of, like, years ago, we can't move on, and I'm not advocating we should have moved on from McClain or anybody, but we can't move on from those guys because when they get called up, that's when we're going to have something special. Well, they're all called up now. What are you doing to enhance the special with this group? And they're just not. Like, they just continue to feed you the hope. They go the hope route. Hope, 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 future, future, future. Look at these prospects. Man, imagine when they get developed and they get called up, we're going to be just as angry with them, not them individually, but with the team performance as a whole because they're not filling the gaps around them. So who knows?
The Cincinnati Reds have scored 198 runs, as Jacob said earlier in this show. That ranks 8th in Major League Baseball. 103 of those 198 were in 9 games.
That's a good one. Say that again.
198 total runs.
Yep.
103 of them are in 9 games.
Wow.
95 runs in the other 33, which is an average of 2.8 runs per game.
That's the team I see every day. That's the team that I that pops up 2 of 3 games. Like that's the 2 point whatever runs a game. That's the team that usually runs out there for 2 of every 3 game series. So there you go. This is a fight. This team will fight all year to be a fringe 500 team.
Yeah, they're not. I mean, they're not horrible. I mean, they're not the Rockies. So
they might even be better than what Vegas said they were. But
No,
we're
they will
still
not.
going to be miserable. They're
don't think
going
they'll be
to get
better
to 80 wins, most likely, and still be angry.
Let's play the game that we played before with one of the easiest schedules and stretches of the season. You have the White Sox, the Guardians, and the Pirates up next before the gauntlet starts. What do we think? What do we think the record is during that stretch?
Think or want it to be?
Let's say want it to be.
Okay.
It's 9 games against the Pirates, the Guardians, and the White Sox. White Sox at home and Guardians at home.
I'll give them 4. I think they take 2 of 3 from the White Sox and Pirates. But after that is where it get, the Guardians are good.
Guardians also own the Reds.
Yeah.
The Ohio, we've never won the Ohio
But
Cup.
we have Terry Francona.
We do have Terry Francona, so in a way we won the Ohio Cup this past offseason.
How many
Ohio Cups transferred
How
us.
many Ohio Cups have the Guardians won without Terry Francona?
It's a good point. I don't know. I feel like we
Won last year.
Okay. Well, I don't. I feel like we split a lot of the time too.
Because they used to be 2 game or whatever.
Yeah.
Here and there.
Yeah. So I'm going to say the Reds beat the White Sox in 3. They win 2 of 3 there. I'm going to say they lose to the Guardians in 3. They don't get swept. So they're a perfect 500 heading to the Pirates in Pittsburgh. I'll say they win the series and they go a game above 500.
So that'd be about 5 and 4.
I'm in there. I'll take 5 and I'll be happy with 5 and 4.
5 and 4. That's what we're going with. 5 and 4.
5 and 4, but one of those losses will be ugly. One of those losses.
And one
will
of
be
the
like
wins will be 22
How many
to 4.
shutouts? How
That's
many
a great
shutouts?
question. How many shutouts? I'm going to say the Guardians shut us out twice, and I will say the Pirates shut us out once.
Well, Ben Lively's a lock
Correct.
for 8 2/3 of
You got
scoreless
BB in
baseball.
there. You got BB in there.
Yeah, miss Skeens again, but you get Bailey Falter and the rest of that rotation that is pretty good. Yeah, I would say more than the feel.
Oh, but then that stretch. This is that stretch in June we were talking about. So
No,
once
yeah,
you get
this
through
is
Pittsburgh,
fun.
then you talked about the fact that they have 6 matchups with the Cubs in 9 days, and then right after that, you play the Brewers. No big deal there. They own you. Then you play a Diamondbacks team.
Didn't mention the Royals on the road.
Yeah. At Kansas City. Yeah, you're right. And then they have to go to Cleveland, and then at Detroit, arguably the best team in the American League at this point. And let's see where else. Luckily, they have that Minnesota series in mid-June. Circle that one, boys. That's where the bleeding stops, possibly.
I don't think so. I don't. The Twins are 21 and 20.
And then you got to go at St. Louis for 3, the Yankees, the Padres, the Red Sox, and then the
At
Philadelphia.
least we have those 7 games against the Marlins and Rockies to get our false hope up before the
That's
All-Star
right.
break.
That's
I
right.
mean, they're going to end up, after that Phillies series on July 6th, they're going to be 5 games below 500.
Oh, yeah.
And then they're going to go 5-2 in that Rockies-Marlins stretch, and we're going to be 500 at the break. Everybody's going to be like, should we trade
That's
for...
the thing, though. They won't do that.
No, you're right.
That's
No,
actually
they
the
won't.
thing. They won't do that.
No, yeah, you are right.
They'll dominate a series
You're
they shouldn't.
right.
Then
Even
lose one.
my pessimism is too optimistic.
Correct.
They're not going to go 5-2 against 2 bad teams. They already lost to the Marlins.
They refuse to do that. They can sweep the Rockies every single time, and they will.
We have that conversation. We've said it 3 times on this show. Well, the Reds at least have beaten the bad teams. They went to Miami and got struck out 15 times by a starter we've never heard of.
That's right. That's right. That's what we are, baby. Hey.
It's pizza time?
Brutal.
Pizza time.
I hope Shamar Stewart actually does not show up to practice. I need drama in Cincinnati for the Bengals because this.
No more drama.
Thanks, Kenner.
No,
I appreciate that.
Take our fandom hats off, hosts right now. If this stretch, will ruin our lives.
I think I'd rather have one team be good.
Yeah.
That
doesn't mean the Bengals would be bad, but we need some drama.
No, I don't mean bad on the field. I mean well run.
I need
I need them to handle this like a competent front office, so I can have sanity.
Yeah.
Fair. I want Hendrickson to come out and announce he's retiring. Let us debate that, talk about the significance of that, the drama, and then he comes back right before camp and everything's fine. But in the meantime, content.
If we could get Kenner for me and you, and honestly Casey as well, if we could get a Trey Hendrickson fake retirement somewhere in the middle of a 10-game Reds losing streak, we don't even have to come in. Elliot will do 4 hours on Trey Hendrickson lying about retiring and the Reds on a losing streak. Those are your 2 favorite topics in the city.
They are.
Filibuster Tuesday, baby.
You love those 2 things.
I love when Trey threatens to retire. 29-year-old in his prime. Okay.
Coming off your best.
Yeah, okay.
This stretch will lead to Casey and I having to do a Yeet segment daily.
Yeah.
Our WWE news and rumors segment.
If we do WWE news and rumors, that would be awesome. That would be awesome.
Casey, we're going to throw rumors at them, and they're going to decide if it's true or if it's a rumor. We're going to just throw out random WWE facts and talking points, and you're going to tell us, is this real or is it a rumor? And that's a segment.
I like that game.
That's a segment coming to Off the Bench near you. Just saying.
Casey and Kenner just write fan fiction for the WWE, and Elliot and I say what actually happened and what didn't.
I think that's a much better thing than what you just said. I think let's let them write a script. And we'll read it out loud on the show.
And then who produced a better wrestling show? And then we won't put names with it. You guys just read the script, and then listeners could vote on who they think wins. And then
Threat Level Midnight.
I mean, they'll probably know my script pretty quickly. I mean,
Jey Uso losing every freaking match.
Jey Uso's gonna lose. Gunther's gonna win. Logan Paul's gonna win. John Cena's gonna win.
Oh God, you're like
my guys.
You're like, my favorite team's the Yankees and the Dodgers and the Lakers and the Cowboys. You're that guy.
Yeah, I guess if you consider Logan Paul a Yankee.
That's fine. You're Cowboys, Yankees, Lakers, Inter Miami. That's your wrestling fandom.
I didn't like that.
Is that
the last part?
Is that the equivalent?
No, it's not.
He's like, I am not a Cowboys fan.
In some last news before we wrap the show up, our dear friend and some people's GOAT, Michael Jordan, scared about his legacy again.
I saw that.
He's,
what did he do? I didn't read
He's
it.
joining the NBC and Peacock presentations for the NBA broadcast next year. So just like COVID, when LeBron started playing well and Jordan put out a 10-part documentary pushing nonsense propaganda that everyone that played on those teams said was a lie and false and complete crap, he's going to do it again, but this time on a full-time basis on an NBC desk. So shout out to Yellow Eyes Cigar Breath.
What is he doing? Well, what is he going to be? Will he be in the pregame panel or what?
Special contributor.
Special contributor.
Oh, so he's going to send shoes to the hosting
Correct.
desk every once in a while, and then so he'll special contributor. So he'll only do something like when the Lakers lose. Or
he's going to do Bulls games and when LeBron gets hurt.
Yeah. Interesting.
I feel like I presented that unbiasedly.
I think you did great.
That's what we do here.
Thanks.
I think you did good there.
All right, we're
was
done.
The narrative you were pushing.
I'll leave that to Jordan.
Yeah.
All right, that wraps it up for us today. Box lunch coming up here in a bit.
That's right.
Until tomorrow, Off the Bench. 1410 ESPN Radio and Chatterbox Sports on YouTube.